Visualize the proximity Tycoon structure.
PPS Tycoon to EMD share. You have clearance for final approach. EMD share. You have been assigned to Tycoon Docking Bay. Welcome on board, passengers.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Ixion. This will be my final video here on the channel about this game because I just recently finished a playthrough, published my full first playthrough of this game, and so I played this game blind. I went in knowing very little about it, and beyond maybe the first hour or so, what I call the prologue before the Lunaclism. And so what I thought would be a fun thing to do is to go back through the game very briefly and talk about a few things that I believe are essential to know before playing this game, because there's a lot that I missed, and I feel, looking back on it, I wish I had known these things before I went into the game, because I think overall it would have made the gameplay much smoother and I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. I did enjoy the game. I do encourage you to go check it out. There are just some things that I think would be very important for us to know before we get started. So here we go. Let's take a look at what I wish I knew before playing Ixion. Now, it goes without saying, this is a punishingly difficult game. It is a very complex set of systems designed to work together. At its core, it is a city builder, but it also has elements of exploration, research, and a bunch of other things that come together to build this cohesive narrative. And often it is compared to Frostpunk. Now, I'm not going to dig into that too much. There are plenty of YouTube videos out there, and that's kind of like the general consensus. Hey, this is like Frostpunk in space. Honestly, I think that's selling it a little bit short. This has a lot of different things going for it. In my opinion, the biggest comparison to Frostpunk would be the two different systems that you have to manage during the course of the game. That is the hull integrity and your trust factor. Hull integrity is very straightforward. You pour alloys into your EVA docking ports, and that repairs the Tycoon. As long as you are feeding it alloys, your ship will be fine. Trust is a little more complicated. In my personal opinion, I despise the trust system in this game. You will hear it if you watch the playthrough, especially toward the end. Trust just manages to drop for no reason, or for a reason that you can't do anything about. At least in my instance, I wasn't able to do anything about trust. And so my game essentially started on a timer where I needed to beat the game before my trust. I lost all my trust. And that's a very frustrating thing for me. Probably my only real criticism of the game is its trust system and how it just arbitrarily decides that your crew members don't trust you anymore, and in the middle of a battle or in the middle of some critical moment they will fire you and the game is over. But it is a very difficult game, so know what you're getting into. It has a lot of things to learn, but if you learn them, if you master them, you can master them, and it can be a rewarding experience. Just know that it does take time and it does take patience for you to get to know the systems and what they do to help make the voyage more enjoyable. As if the frustrations with the trust system weren't enough, oh my god, let me tell you about hidden research. That's right, unless you dig through the myriad of tutorials and reference materials related to this game, you will most likely miss the fact that many of the best research options are hidden underneath a very cryptic design. What you have here is the research rings, and in order to progress to the next ring, you have to research all of the technologies on the ring before it. No big deal. But eventually in the game, you're going to get to a point where you realize that your technology doesn't really stack up to where you're at. Well, for me, and that's because I didn't realize that some of the best upgrades are actually hidden underneath each individual section. So if you click on each one of these individual research elements, these buildings or these functions, you get a pop-up and you're able to research additional features. And I honestly, that should have been like one of the first things that the player is introduced to in the intro as far as technology and researching, because that is very, very easy for a new player to miss. And I missed it. So it was about halfway through my playthrough before I actually realized that I could click on these individual buildings and research specific upgrades. And these are critical upgrades. You have to do some of these upgrades if you want to beat the game. So hidden research, not good. Watch out for it. Make sure that you check out and click on each individual item for a list of options that will help you to research and improve the output of your steel mills, or improve your repair capabilities, and a whole host of other things that will make your voyage aboard the Tycoon a little bit easier. If there was any advice that I would give to any Ixion player, this is a warning. Finite resources. And when I talk about finite resources, I don't mean alloys. I don't mean polymers or any of the other raw materials that you can find out there. I'm talking about science points. You can actually get to a point in the game where you do not have enough science points to continue on. So make sure that when you are playing this game, that you stick around in the system as long as possible. Take as many opportunities to collect science points as possible. Upgrade your tech lab, upgrade anything that has to do with research output, or you can get stuck. That is a general piece of advice that I did not take going into this playthrough, but it is something that I strongly recommend. If you can stay in a system, even if you finished everything and you're ready to move on to the next chapter, if you've got the opportunity to collect more resources and you've got the time and your trust cap, everything will work, at least to allow you to stay in the system for the time being. Take advantage of it. Get those resources, because there may not be enough down the line. And so this next part may just be a piece of advice to myself in the past, but don't be afraid to open new sectors on the Tycoon. So I played my playthrough with maybe 1 or 2 sectors open for most of the game, until the game legitimately forces you to open new sectors to progress. And what I learned quickly is that the Tycoon is a piece of hot garbage and it's constantly falling apart. But the more sectors you open, the better it works, because you have more opportunities to pour resources into repairing the hull and to keeping the ship going. So don't be afraid to open those new sectors. Take advantage of the resources that are already there. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff that's just dropped on the floor. Get in there, get those resources, but most importantly, get your supplemental services active, your EVA docks, your docking bay, the things that can help to sustain the Tycoon, and do anything you can to continue to produce as many resources as possible for your people, because you're definitely going to need it. And so this last part is less of advice and more of my final thoughts on the game. So who is this game actually for? Well, at its core, it is a real-time strategy game. It's got city building elements to it. It's got research, technology, and a bunch of other things, exploration, but at its heart, this is a real-time strategy game, okay? I think a lot of the city building aspects are just window dressing. Ultimately, you are managing a starship that is trying to find home. And putting everything together, the question is, who would enjoy this game? Well, personally, I enjoyed it. Despite some of the flaws that it has and some of the weird quirks, overall, I think this was a great experience. It is something that maybe later down the road I could see myself coming back and giving it another try with what I know now to see what I could do. There is a pretty active Ixion community out there. There's still people making videos about this game. yours truly at the moment. There are different build designs that you can find out there, and so tips, tricks. There is an active community behind the game. So it is something that's out there. If you are the type of person that enjoys games like Frostpunk, survival crafting games, and real-time strategies, this might be something for you to consider picking up. I would definitely recommend it to people who have the time and energy to devote to something like this. Just know that it does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of effort and energy to kind of learn the systems and to kind of figure out how it all works in the greater narrative. So that's going to be all for Ixion. And I want to thank you all. If you watched the playthrough or you watched any of the playthrough, thank you for being part of that. And thank you for taking time to watch this video. And I hope that some of these tips and tricks can better prepare you for your journey aboard the Tycoon, because Dolos sure is not going to tell you these things. These are things that you really need to know from somebody who has lived the experience. And again, I highly recommend the game. If you're into real-time strategy, city builders, then this is definitely something to check out. Go back and check out my playthrough. There are links in the description to the full playthrough, and then for the playlist that has individual chapters if you want to break it down. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there. Good night, everybody.